Alright, so this is my labor and delivery story. First I will tell you guys that towards the end of my pregnancy, a lot of the doctors thought I would not make it to my due date. My doctor, I should say, not a lot of doctors, but my doctor did not see me making it to my due date. And so I swore up and down that I wasn't going to make it because of what they were telling me, and so I stopped working at 37 weeks. I had been working with my mom since we moved home. So I've just kind of been walking towards the end. I had been walking and cleaning my house and just doing stuff that would try to throw me into labor, and that stuff does not work, by the way. Well, at least it didn't for me. So at 39 weeks, I got a membrane sweep. Yeah. And that was on a Friday. On Sunday, he's stretching out. I guess the pacifier is not needed anymore. On Sunday, after that, I had lost my mucus plug, bloody show, whatever they want to call it. So that kind of excited me, but, you know, I know that weeks after that, you could go into labor, days after that, you know, it could be any time. Wednesday, we had gone out to the bank, and we were just doing some stuff. Getting last minute stuff. I had been feeling kind of crampy that night. This was April 4th. I had been feeling kind of crampy, but I mean, you know, that didn't cross my mind that anything was different, because I had been having Braxton Hicks quite a bit for weeks, and it felt the same, you know, it was just Braxton Hicks contractions and cramps, and so I went to bed that night. I was having, you know, cramps here and there. Like, I'd have one, and then it would be a while before I had another one. But to me, they felt like Braxton Hicks. They weren't really painful. My doctor told me not to worry about anything. Don't come in unless they're 6 minutes apart, and, you know, that they're really excruciating. I can't take it. That's what she told me. So, naturally, I didn't try to time them or anything. At 4:08 in the morning, I passed out. I hadn't gone to bed until probably about 1 o'clock in the morning. I couldn't fall asleep. I mean, towards the end, sleep was no longer in my dictionary. So, 4:08 in the morning, I'm in a deep sleep. All of a sudden, and this wakes me up out of my deep sleep, I hear this really loud pop, and I woke up and I was like, what was that? And before I could even finish the thought of what was that, I felt it starting to trickle down my body, and I was like, oh my gosh, my water just broke. This is all in like 0.2 seconds of thinking from the time I thought, what was that to, it broke to, oh my gosh, this is my water. Like, literally, that's how fast my thought process was. I jumped out of bed, ran to the bathroom. As soon as I got to the toilet, I mean, it was just like somebody had turned the waterfall on. I mean, I never expected it to be that dramatic. Because, you know, you see in movies where they're just standing there and all of a sudden it just gushes and falls on the floor. And, you know, people are like, oh, it really doesn't happen like that. That's just Hollywood making it, you know, seem more dramatic than what it is. No. Had I been standing up, that's exactly what would have happened. Luckily, I was sleeping and I could run to the bathroom because my bathroom's in my bedroom. So, you know, our bedroom's kind of tiny, so it's, you know, short distance to the bathroom. So I was like, oh, I gotta hurry up and get to the bathroom. So, I guess my husband felt me jump out of bed. He was kind of awake. We were both having a hard time sleeping. But he jumped out of bed and he goes, are you okay? And I was like, my water just broke. And he's like, okay, what do we do now? I was like, we're going to the hospital. What do I guess he just, in that quick second, it's like, you know, like, what do you do? It was just a shock that it would happen, you know, 4 o'clock in the morning. And so I had to sit on that toilet, I'm not kidding you, for 10 minutes because it just would not stop coming. I mean, it was just horrible. So finally, I had him grab me a hand towel, and I stuck it in my shorts, kind of like underwear. I mean, kind of like a pad, so that it would catch some of it so I could run to the car and get in the car and go. By the time I had all of that lost, and I got myself kind of cleaned up a little bit, and he had to take a quick shower. I mean, like, that was so important. But anyways, this was probably about 15 minutes from the time my water broke, and we were getting ready to leave, and he's like, are you having contractions? I'm like, they just started. And so we were timing them, and they were, at this point, they were 4 minutes apart. So I was like, we need to go and get there now. By the time we got to the hospital, I got there, got hooked up and everything. I was 4 centimeters dilated. Contractions at that point had become 2 minutes apart. I mean, it just went like really fast. And so I kept calling my mom. She wouldn't answer the phone. I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, she has an hour and 45-minute drive to get to me. It's like, I'm going to knock her out because she told me, call me as soon as something happens. Took me 30 minutes to get hold of her. I was so mad. But she got there, you know, he didn't come right away. She got there, my mother-in-law got there, my dad got there, and so I told the rest of my family. Nobody else came during that time. But by the time I got to about 6 centimeters, my contractions were so excruciating that I was literally having panic attacks in the middle of each contraction. And I was just, I couldn't think, I couldn't hear what the lady was telling me to tell me, you know, relax your body, you know, breathe deep breaths, breathe them out of your mouth, don't be, you know, like tense. She says, oops, I scared him. She said, you know, if you're tense, that's going to make it even harder. And I couldn't, by an hour into labor, from the, you know, when I started at the hospital, hooked up and everything, it was just so intense. I'm not one to handle pain very well, and I was trying to avoid an epidural, and my husband was like, you don't have to put up with the pain. He goes, I know that you're trying to be tough, and he said, I'm sorry for, you know, making fun of you for calling you a wimp for getting epidural, because we had been talking about it the night before, and I was like, I'm probably going to end up getting it. It's like, because I have a low tolerance for pain. And he's like, you're such a wimp. And I guess he thought that I was trying to be tough because he called me a wimp. And that wasn't it at all. It was just, I didn't want to have to get it that early. But I just couldn't take it anymore. I was unable to get comfortable. I could not think. I was just in this panic mode, because every contraction got stronger and stronger. I mean, they were off the charts, and, you know, she's like, you're having some really good contractions, and I'm like, no kidding. Meanwhile, my husband's saying, man, my whole body hurts from workout yesterday, and I'm looking at him. I didn't say anything. I just looked at him like, really? And he's like, I'm sorry, I completely forgot. Also, you can't have anything to eat or drink, okay? I hadn't had anything to eat or drink since 10 p.m. the night before. So here it is. This is about 7 o'clock in the morning now. I'm going on, you know, almost 12 hours of nothing to eat, nothing to drink. I'm dying of thirst. I wasn't really hungry, but he was just saying, man, I'm thirsty. And I just looked at him. He was like, sorry, I keep forgetting. I was like, I'm going to knock you out. It's like, seriously. It's like, you're not allowed to complain. So, I think it was about 6 centimeters is when I got the epidural. My parents had just gotten there, and Of course, they have to wait an hour. They have to give me an hour of fluids before they could give me the epidural. And that was the longest hour of my life. I wanted to shoot myself. So, they came in, did the epidural. That was the worst thing ever. I swear, that freaking hurt my back so bad. And I was so scared to get it. I was scared I was going to be paralyzed. I was scared it was going to hurt, and it definitely hurt. I mean, when they put the numbing stuff, that hurt like crap. But I still felt that needle. I don't care what kind of numbing crap you give me. It could be the strongest thing in the world, and I still felt that sucker, and it hurt. So I get the epidural. 15 minutes later, it's in full effect. I had no contraction pain. I couldn't feel my legs. I couldn't feel my butt. I did not like that I could not feel my butt. I don't know why. But, it just really bothered me that I couldn't feel it. You know, it's like when you sit down too long in a car and your butt kind of goes numb. That's what it reminded me of. And I just wanted to, like, get up and walk around. But, so they gave me the catheter for my bladder. Someone's talking in their sleep. They give me the catheter. Hours and hours go by. I'm steadily progressing. About 10 hours into labor, I was finally fully dilated, fully thinned out, ready to start pushing. Actually, this was 9.5. 9.5 hours into active labor, I was fully dilated. So the nurse comes in. I'm trying to push and push and push. She's like, push with your butt. Push with your butt. And I'm like, I can't feel my butt. How am I supposed to push? How do I know that I'm pushing the right way? Well, finally, after an hour of doing that and not knowing, that, oh, okay, I'm, unable to know if I'm pushing right, which I was doing some kind of progress. I mean, but she had to cut my epidural off because I just couldn't feel anything, and it was just not going as fast, I guess, as she had wanted. So, during this time, I'm steadily pushing, blah, blah, blah. Finally, an hour later, this is 2 hours into pushing now, I was able to really feel that I'm able to push, and I was actually able to do it right. And I was also able to feel the contractions again at this point. They weren't that bad because some of the epidural was still, there, but I was able to feel my right leg again. My left leg was still pretty numb, but I was able to feel my right leg again. Your head's leaning over. But they get the doctor in there at that point, pushing. I mean, they were just like really having me push. And they even tried the rope thingy where you pull, because I wasn't able to push anymore with my body. I mean, it like my abs hurt so bad from just pushing and scrunching over, and just like, I mean, my whole body was exhausted at this point, and I was like, I hope I don't have to have a C-section. I mean, if that's what it has to take, then, I understand, but that's not the way that I wanted it to go. So I'm, trying to push through the exhaustion and the pain, and they pull the rope thing. That in itself was hard because I had carpal tunnel syndrome towards the end of the pregnancy. I couldn't grip anything, and she's like, you have to hold it full. And I'm like, I can't. My hands hurt, like it's, and my husband's like, try to pull it and try to, keep it right here. And I'm like, I can't hold on to it. My hands do not grip anything. They hurt. Nobody would listen to me when I'm telling them. So the doctor was like, he goes, I don't see you needing a C-section. He's like, you're doing great. He said, but we need some kind of help. He's like, we can do forceps. He goes, I don't want to do the suction because he looks like he has a little swelling on his head. He said, but we can do forceps. He goes, with that though, a lot of women tear. And he said, you might not tear naturally if you had, just push naturally. He said, but a lot of times women tear with forceps. And I didn't want to tear if I didn't have to, That's kind of stupid. So I was like, no, I want to try, to keep pushing naturally before I say, okay, let's try forceps. And I just did not want them things scraping up his head and causing bruises. And anything else, you know. Screw the forceps. I wasn't going to use them anyways. But, sorry, I got a really itchy nose today. It's like driving me nuts. So, of course, the lady was like, do you want to use the rope again? I'm like, no, I can't grab it. Like, my hand is just unable to grab it. So I pushed and pushed and pushed with all my might. I mean, I gave it everything I had. And they would do about 3 or 4 pushes per contraction. This time I did 6 pushes. And that last push is what pushed him out. Of course, he gets his head out. And I'm pushing, and he goes, stop pushing. And I didn't know what was going on. Of course, later I found out that the cord was wrapped around his neck. And so that freaked my husband out. So they unwrapped it from around his neck and then had me continuing to push. And, I mean, it was just like he slithered right out. And meanwhile, mind I tell you that I did feel all of this, as well as the doctor shoving his entire hand into my vajayjay to kind of work things around and help pull, and he was trying to get the cord out, and that hurt so bad. I swear he stretched me like that big. It felt like he had ripped everything, and he did. He ripped me when he did that. When he stuck his hand in, I tore. I had a 2nd-degree tear because of him, stupid man. But he was trying to help me, you know. It was kind of just like at a standstill with getting the baby's head out. But they get his body out and, you know, sucking all the stuff out, and no cry, no breathing, and my husband's freaking out, and he's just like, cry, you know, something, and meanwhile, the baby's just blinking his eyes, just staring at my husband, and, you know, finally, we get that little, and just the relief on my husband's face was, you know, you could just tell. It was like, oh, God, thank you. Like, you just, you know, it's a scary moment when your baby's not crying, but I know they have 5 minutes from the time that they're born before it's just like, okay, this is too late. But everything was good, you know. He came out, and they took him over, weighed him, and cleaned him all up, and threw him in well, actually, my husband, they gave him to my husband. I mean, they laid him on my chest and everything, and I got to see him. But they gave him to my husband because I had to deliver the afterbirth. And, oh, my gosh. That hurt so bad. Especially when they're, like, pushing on your stomach really hard and, like, trying to push it down and push it out. I was practically screaming on that. I mean, that hurt so bad. And you would think after having a baby it wouldn't. But just with them pushing on my stomach was really sore. And my muscles were sore from, you know, like, squeezing to, you know, push. And, I don't know, it was horrible. That was worse than the labor. And I didn't feel them stitching me up. The epidural was still kind of, like, there. But I definitely felt myself tear, and I definitely felt him coming out. And then, of course, they gave me Pitocin to, kind of get my, stomach muscles to kind of contract, to go back down and get things contracting there. So, luckily, I did not have to have Pitocin to get labor started or to continue labor. That was really awesome that I went into labor by myself, and I was just really relieved when he was here and he was in my arms, and I had him, like I said, at 4:28 p.m. exactly 12 hours and 8 minutes after I had started labor, like active labor. So, well, it was somewhere around like 12 hours and 8 minutes or something like that. But anyways, pretty much exactly 12 hours later, I had him. So it was kind of a long day, but it went so much faster than I thought it would. So anyways, that is pretty much my labor and delivery story. Didn't really seem too exciting to me compared to some other people's labor and delivery, and I felt kind of like a loser for getting epidural. I know everybody gets it pretty much, but you know, I was really trying to fight through it, but in order to keep myself calm and sane and able to concentrate and not stress him out and stress myself out, you know, epidural was needed, and I felt so much better and relaxed afterwards. I was able to relax, especially only having 3 hours of sleep. You know, it was just the contractions were exhausting to breathe through, and I'll lift him up so you guys can see him again. Oh, say, whoa, we're falling forward. Look at this little rotten baby here. He's not rotten, but see? Say hello. Hello. I don't think he looks like Mommy. Do you? Nah. He looks like Daddy. He looks so much like Daddy. Look at his little feetsies. Aren't they cute? I don't think he looks like Mama. No. Not at all. Yeah, I don't think so. Anyways, that's the end of my labor and delivery. Oh, someone's getting hungry. It's feeding time. So I'm gonna go feed him, and I will do a video soon of his nursery and some other stuff, you know, maybe his update on his 4-week appointment. You gonna say bye? Bye! Oh, he said bye! Say bye! Bye, YouTube! We'll see you soon! I'm gonna go eat! Booby time! Bye!